Dr. Daniel Dredd's childhood was not to be admired. Despite having rich parents, it didn't do him many favors. His mother was an actress and father a tycoon. The two paid little to no attention to their son, and left him in the hands of several butlers that roamed around their mansion. They were mostly traveling the world. Daniel was bored out of his mind, despite being spoiled, which wasn't really being spoiled in this case. He consumed himself in his studies, becoming very intelligent. By the age of 15, he was already graduating high school. Sadly, his parents didn't come to the graduation. They were currently traveling in Asia. This practically broke his heart. Sure, he never had the best connection to them, but when they come to his graduation, it can't even be said that he and his parents had a strained relationship, mostly due to there not even being one at all. This drove Daniel insane. Not totally insane, but just a tiny bit. After getting out of college at the age of 17, he had a whole plan in the works for his future. He was going to form his own company, and he had the means to do it. He was sitting on a massive fortune. Sure, it didn't technically belong to him, but his parents never really cared what was going on with their money, and were too busy to care. Somehow, after all of this time, after all these years, they were still traveling. He took advantage of this, and in almost no time at all, he had formed a massive tent company, Dredd Tech. He pretty much owned Vegas, and was making millions. I forgot to mention he was born and raised in Las Vegas. He also decided to move out of his childhood home into the penthouse he set up in Dredd Tower. A year later, his parents finally returned after their long, almost 2 decades long trip. They returned to their mansion to speak of their son, something they hadn't done in such a long time. They were shocked to find out that their son wasn't living there anymore. The staff of the mansion said he hadn't been for about a year. They were also more alarmed to find out he had been using some of their wealth to help fund his company. They quickly went to Dredd Tower and were sent up to his office. He was actually expecting them. The first question they questioned him on was how they knew they were coming. He simply said that nothing or no one gets past him in his town. When they asked about getting their money back he denied. He said he didn't see the value of throwing away good money for such petty endeavors such as traveling the world. They took this as an insult. Dredd silly put he didn't really care what they thought. They also asked how he wasn't in school, well, since he was only 19. This part caught him off guard. He claimed he's been out of school for the past 2 years. He mocked them for not knowing this. They told Dredd that they would be taking his company from him, since he'd used their money, and they would ground him. Dredd just laughed. He tells them that the world doesn't run on their time. While they have been flying around the world enjoying themselves, he's become one of the youngest company owners in history. And he wasn't going to let them just take it away from him. Not without a fight, at least. He does comment that if they were willing to try, he couldn't promise their next pleasure cruise would go according to plan. This quickly scared them, and they left with little fuss. As the two walked across the city that day, they kept getting eyed by some questionable people. This motivated them to leave the city early. As their prior plane was over halfway into the cruising altitude, something happened. Their screens turned to their son's face. Dredd just laughed as he told them goodbye for the last time. As the screens turned back to normal, the plane simply shut down and began to fall. That's when they realized their plane had been made by Dredd Tech. Back at the tower, Dredd was looking through his binoculars as the plane fell. His assistant Mary asked if everything was as he wished. Dredd just smiled and said yes. He then reminded her that up here, it was Dr. Devil. And that, my friends, is the story today. Look out for part 2 whenever it comes out. Thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.